Hello, everybody. It's Stephen Paul from WinExtra bringing you your daily brief for June the 1st, 2011. And I guess really the big news today is going to be the D9 conference with Steven Sinofsky. Going to be doing a little bit of a presentation, I gather.
Yeah, we're supposed to be getting a first look at Windows 8 /
Windows Next. I know.
Next. Yeah, Windows 8. Because what's the next one going to be? Windows next? Windows after? Windows the second coming? It's stupid bloody code names for products that aren't even released yet. Yeah, so that's the big interest. We're supposed to see it. And of course, Windows 8 / Next is Microsoft's multi-platform operating system. ARM, Intel, and tablet, PC, phone, you name it, it'll run on it, operating system.
Well,
and of course, as far as I know, there's no live stream of this either going on when it happens, which is happening at what, 3:15 PST today?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, at the time of recording, there's still like 5 or 6 hours until that happens. But so we'll be bringing you news on that tomorrow, and hopefully any footage that we can find, maybe somebody will snap some for us. But it does sound like this whole Windows 8 thing, the whole ARM thing, is turning into much more of a debacle for Microsoft than they perhaps expected, as we hear complaints from manufacturers like Acer that Microsoft is trying to control the whole process and trying to get chip manufacturers to partner with 1 or 2 hardware manufacturers so that they can kind of limit the number of, I suppose, various devices out there that have to be supported in order to get these products to market and at a higher quality. The Acer CEO,
JT Wang.
Jim Wang, yeah. JT Wang, Jim Wang. He came out and he's rather pissed about it, like, you know. He came out and he says the industry does not belong to Microsoft, and it does not belong to Intel. It belongs to all participants. They cannot make the decision for all of us. That is the problem. And I find this rather strange, because the more I read about this sort of Microsoft trying to control the hardware spec, it makes sense in some senses, because obviously they don't want to have to support a whole load of hardware and run into you know, various issues with drivers and that sort of stuff. Secondly, it very strongly supports my theory that they're going to launch Windows 8 tablet / slate first, rather than on the desktop, as you know, they are limiting as much as possible the hardware choices that we're starting to see. Thirdly, this isn't a rule that has been set in stone.
No.
Hardware manufacturers are free to partner with whoever they want. However, they're incentivizing, however they're going to manage to do that, but they are incentivizing chip makers and hardware manufacturers that choose to partner with each other almost exclusively. And finally, where Jim Wang, I think, is incredibly wrong on this, is he's saying that, you know, the industry does not belong to Microsoft and it does not belong to Intel. Well, he's wrong in one sense. The operating system belongs to Microsoft.
Yeah.
And Acer and other hardware manufacturers, especially ones that, like Acer, that have specialized in you know laptops, desktops, that sort of stuff, haven't branched out too far beyond that, would have nothing without the Microsoft operating system. And it's their operating system. It's entirely their choice to decide what you can and can't do with it. And if you don't like it, well, go ask Apple. Can you use theirs?
You know, this to me, this is something I wanted to see Microsoft do. We saw this start or try to start with PatchGuard back with Vista, Longhorn, but Microsoft backed down in the end. But I think the other thing is Microsoft wants to get away from this perception that Windows, is like Windows has always been that sort of operating system that will run on anything. Doesn't matter what garbage you throw at it, it will run on it. Not good, better, whatever. I think Microsoft wants to get to that point where they can say you can always have a good experience with our platform, because we are taking more of a hands-on approach, as like they did with Windows Phone. That they said, okay, this is what we want for our OEMs to have. All right, you either have it or it's not going to work.
Well, you can only do that if you can put limits on what the hardware manufacturers can do.
Yeah.
Because for years, I mean forever, basically. Every time a new version of Windows comes out, you go to your Best Buy, you go to your wherever, and the place will be full of machines that just barely meet the minimum specifications. And the minimum specifications are like, this thing will just about run.
Yeah.
And they're bog standard, they're full of crapware and bloatware. And, there was a time, I suppose, when hardware manufacturers could actually turn around and give out and bitch about this and say, look, you can't actually do this to us.
Yeah.
Or we'll take you to court. You're locking us out.
Yeah, not anymore.
But I think the environment has changed enough with the likes of Apple, who entirely control the stream, being a strong enough competitor, that Microsoft can turn around and say, fine, get your knickers in a twist, go elsewhere. What other operating systems are you going to run?
Chrome OS.
Stick Android on. Yeah, right. Stick Android on your operating system. Fine. I'm only going to assume that you're joking.
Yes, I am.
Because as somebody who does run Linux, like the latest version of Ubuntu, again, unless you're an uber geek, Linux is not the operating environment for you.
No.
As far as it has come, it still has a long, long way to go before it's, grandma ready.
Yeah. I agree with you 100% on that one.
And I think that, Microsoft needs to stand up and take a little bit of control. I know a lot of companies are getting their knickers in a twist about it. And I know that we're starting to, there's been rumors come out that, Digitimes has come out and they've actually supported Wang, claiming that Taiwan's PC makers especially have been excluded from what Microsoft are calling the Integrated Development Program, the IDP, for Windows 8 tablets, according to a Taiwanese rumor rag. So it's the equivalent to the register, so don't pay too much heed. A lot of time Microsoft partners, Acer, Asus, and even HTC may be shut out of the proceedings. I find that very hard to believe. But
from what I understand, like Microsoft is only coming down on the chips. They're not coming down as far as the hard drives or the other parts of the guts. They just want some standardization on what like the processor, I guess the RAM, so on and so forth, whatever.
Well, if they can standardize with the chip makers, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing: they can standardize with the chip makers and the hardware manufacturers. There's going to be a lot less motherboards, chip designs to support, so on and so forth, from a driver point of view.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is all about drivers. I think they want to make sure they don't have another Vista.
Yeah.
After years in production and years with both the hardware manufacturers and the chip makers involved in the process, it's still shipped and nobody had their drivers ready.
Yeah.
And this way, by limiting the number of devices, Microsoft can get involved with the hardware manufacturers and the chip makers involved in the actual process of developing the drivers, making sure everything is working and everything's up to standard before anything ships. And again, as I said, this kind of approach, this kind of where they feel the need to limit the amount of hardware, as I said, leads credence to the fact that we may see Windows 8 tablet first.
Yeah.
And desktop later, because desktop, none of these things apply to desktop manufacturers. It's just to tablets. And of course, there's one final aspect to this as well, which is that, you know, if chip makers and hardware manufacturers are paired off, you're going to see a lot less devices out there, which means you may see a lot more high quality devices. Because instead of, you know, taking the typical sort of Dell or, you know, Acer or whatever approach and, okay, Windows, whatever it is here, let's produce like 500 different variations. We may just see each manufacturer coming out with 2 or 3 or even 5 and be more focused on those and deliver
better quality.
By having, you know, their software teams and their hardware teams and their design teams more focused on these devices. It may be a case of where they actually sell more of higher quality devices than they do of having a whole slew of sort of crap devices where, you know, I mean, if you look at the amount of PCs and if you look at the amount of devices that actually come out, I think the vast majority of them don't actually sell very well. You get a handful of models that do well and make up for the rest of it. But it's kind of this philosophy of like, how many different ones can we throw out? We'll throw all this crap against the wall and we see which ones stick.
Well,
this reduces the amount of crap they have to throw.
Yeah, a good example of that is I heard yesterday, AT&T apparently has pulled the HTC Surround. They've scrubbed it. It's gone. You can't get it.
Well, also the HTC Surround was one of those phones that I really had a hard time understanding why anybody would want to buy the Surround. Yeah. Because it's got slide-out speakers.
Big deal.
No.
Now, one other thing that may be coming back from the past, apparently, Mary Jo Foley had this. There's Windows 8 might have a new file system called Protogon, or as we knew it from Vista, WinFS. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but with respects to this one, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. But you got Rafael Riviera from within Windows who's done some digging into it. You've got another guy who's done some serious digging into it, and it appears that there is some solid ground behind this idea that Windows 8 might finally have a new file system.
Well, they've certainly had long enough to develop a new file system. But again, that's going to raise the other ugly head of software compatibility. You know, inside Windows 7, you can still, if you want to, run games or run applications that will require, you know, it'll deal with FAT32, and if you do things right, you can even get FAT16 stuff to work.
Ooh.
And obviously everything is, you know, NTFS inside Windows 7 and Vista, and has been since XP. XP was the first one to come where you could decide which one you wanted FAT32 or NTFS.
No, I think you could do that in 98 and Windows Pro 2000.
Not in Windows 98.
No?
Perhaps in 2000, because 2000 is the same core as XP. Yeah. But definitely not Windows 98.
Okay.
But you know, if they bring in another file system now, we're going to have to look at backward. Obviously, you can pretty much say that anything that relied on FAT32 is goodbye. Bye. Yep. NTFS, they may be able to work backwards compatibility for NTFS file systems. The new file system mightn't be that different, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They may be able to get away with that, but it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. And
well, we'll know tomorrow. Really, well, we'll know today.
I would assume anyway that, considering the proliferation of Windows 7 machines, that there's no way they could release Windows 8 without it having. It'll probably be like XP was. You can have this in NTFS, or you can have it in WinFS, or what did you say it's now being called?
Well, the code name is Protagon.
All right, Protagon. So you'd be able to have the choice of either, but it'll read both, obviously.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be too much of an issue.
Anyway, we'll be able to let you know more tomorrow, folks, if you don't manage to catch up on it today. But on that note,
hang on, we have one more thing to talk about.
Oh, which is?
We skipped right over R2D2.
Oh God, I shouldn't even have put that in the show notes.
I know.
Seriously, that was just a misleading.
All right, well, what we're going to do, folks, is you know we have said that Star Wars is coming to Star Wars for Kinect is coming to E3, and in preparation for Microsoft's sort of E3 announcement, they do have this advert. I believe it's running on Spike. .com, Spike TV. So it's basically R2D2 comes in and interacts with a Kinect device. Somebody called it hilarious. I don't agree. I think this is a teaser trailer. I think it's another example of Microsoft just getting its marketing all screwed up. But we'll play out the show with it.
Yeah.
It's only like 30-40 seconds long, so you guys can decide what you think of the Spike Microsoft E3 R2D2 Star Wars trailer. Can I put any more keywords in there?
So on that note, if you have any comments about today's show or anything we've talked about in the past, you can drop along to podcast@winextra.com, or you can leave us a comment on anywhere where you find the show, or you can drop us a text or voicemail to 251-281-8730. And on that note, that's Paul, I'm Steve. This has been WinExtra's Daily Brief for June the 1st, 2011. Take care, everybody.
Monday, June 6th, E3 is on Spike, live, with an exclusive showcase from Xbox, Xbox 360, The Future Revealed. Monday, June 6th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 Pacific, only on Spike and GameTrailers.com.